All righty. We just usually start off with a big smile. Welcome to the Dental Handoff. I'm Dr. Kelly Tanner. Today I have with me the infamous president of the ADHA, Erin Haley-Hitz. Erin, it is such an honor to have you on, my friend.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite. It was time for us to catch up anyway.
It really was. I always say this, but we pass each other at meetings and it's hey, hey.
Yep, yep. How's it
So it's
going? And never really have time to chat. So this is perfect.
I know it really is. And I'm excited for people to learn about your journey as a hygienist and now as ADHA president. It's just it's not a straight line sometimes. And I think that maybe yours was more straight than some others. It's straighter than mine. But I know that all of us have our story. And so I'm curious to hear, did you choose hygiene or did it choose you?
I think that it chose me, to be honest with you. So fun fact about me, I've actually worked in a dental office since I was 17, believe it or not. And that all came about because my friend, I guess, that I was growing up with, her father was a dentist, and he found out I was interested in dentistry. And on graduation day, from graduation from high school, he came up and said, "Congratulations, I hear you're interested in dentistry." And I said, "Well, yes, I am." And he said, "Show up to my office on Monday at 7 a.m.
What?
And I said, "Well, what am I doing?" He said, "You have a summer job." I had no idea what my job was, what I was going to do, anything, right? I had no idea what I was walking into, other than I knew what a dental office looked like. I'd been to the dentist, always gone regularly. And I had value in that care. So that was already instilled in me. But I didn't know what it was going to be like to work at a dental office. So, yeah, that's how I started. And I did just about everything you can imagine that was legal in a dental practice until I was a hygienist. So I, cleaned, I vacuumed the floors, I filed. That was before, of course, all the software, right? And I helped the staff set up rooms. So I was trained in a lot of things before I even got to hygiene school. He trained me as a chairside assistant. So I was able to assist on some of those procedures that he was doing. But I found myself really drawn to the hygiene room. Always the conversations on prevention, the conversations on helping people become healthy. And that's why I say dental hygiene, I think, chose me, because I thought I wanted to be a dentist, but then I realized that all they do is fix. They're not just, but they're only restoring, right? And they're on that reactive side, seeing what people come with, and then they have to rebuild it and remanufacture a smile and things like that, which I think is fantastic. We need that. But I was really drawn to what the hygienist was doing. And when I told him, because I was going to college now, I told him, I said, "I think I made my decision. I'm going to apply to dental hygiene school." His exact words were, "Gosh, I can recruit thousands of hygienists, but I can't recruit one dentist." And so,
Boy, times have changed.
yes. So he did mentor a lot of hygienists. Even one of his own children became a hygienist. So I think it's interesting that he was good at that. But he was also a very prevention-minded dentist. So I think that that's probably what played a role in that, is he valued what his hygienist was bringing to the practice, and he valued the messages, and he always echoed what she was saying, not only in the room with his hygienist, but outside in his own operatories. He would talk about the messaging that she was always saying to patients. So there's a lot of teamwork in that environment, which I think set me up for a good future in this profession, to understand what teamwork really looks like from the very beginning. And, I think about him often because when I graduated from hygiene school, I graduated from the University of Nebraska Medical Center in 1995. Now I'm dating myself. Been at this almost 30 years. When I graduated, again, he called me. He said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm just sitting at home waiting for my license." And lo and behold, he said, "Well, show up at my office on Monday morning." And I said, "What am I doing?" He said, "You're working as a hygienist." "What? I don't have a license." He said, "I signed your license today." His signature is on my license. I had no idea he was on the board of dentistry.
Oh,
So it came full circle. And I worked for him temporarily for 3 months. He kind of broke me in, getting all those little quirky things out of the way from school, went from, long appointments to shorter, which was a fantastic way to start. It was a really safe environment. He was a trustworthy mentor and told me exactly what I probably needed to hear from the very beginning. And we stayed in touch. We still do. He's retired, but that's how dental hygiene chose me in a way.
It is just, it's never by coincidence, is it?
No, I think it was certainly by design. My mother, registered nurse, she thought I was crazy for wanting to be a dental hygienist. She was deathly afraid of the dentist. So it's kind of surprising that I am in this environment, considering how fearful she was and how much anxiety she had around oral health care for herself. She knew the value of it, so much so that she never took me to the dentist. My dad took me. And so I never had any inkling that she was afraid of the dentist until she sat in my chair as a patient. And that's when she, I guess, clued me into how physically, those physical manifestations of anxiety were producing in her. I had no idea that that was even a thing. So that got me on the whole anxiety conversation with patients pretty early on, how to manage dental anxiety. But she was a great supporter of me going into the career, even though she thought I should be a nurse like herself. But that wasn't for me. That schedule was not for me at all. But so that's what brought me into this profession. And here I am 30 years later. Now, getting to leadership was a whole different pathway, whole completely different pathway. And I know we crossed paths ourselves in that pathway, and you were part of that journey. And it was a little rocky at times, but here I am. And the biggest thing that I think I learned through all of those leadership steps is no matter how afraid you are, it's still important to put your first foot forward into that unknown environment. Yes. Because you're really not going to grow unless you do. And it's okay to admit that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
That is huge. And that it's uncomfortable. But nobody said that adapting is easy. It's actually painful to adapt to new surroundings. But it makes us stronger. It makes us more well-rounded. And I think actually open to change if we put ourselves in those situations on a regular basis, if you will. But
I totally agree. It's understanding, I think, who we are as a person and almost real time catching ourselves in some of the thought patterns that we have, and knowing also too, and this just doesn't have to do with only um, leadership, but also dental office, wherever you are in life, but knowing that culture that you can be held up, lifted up, and you can say, I don't understand, or how can I grow better, and not feel like you're less than, but for others to say, well, let us help you. Like, what do you have questions about? That's so empowering.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I don't know that, I think one of the things is that I've realized in this moment in my life, I just had it recently where two students came up to me and were basically fangirls, right? Oh my gosh, you're ADHA president. Yeah, that's where is she? Right? I wanted to turn around and look. Did you see her? Oh, that's me. It's a very bizarre feeling to think that somebody is looking at you in that, I guess, in that spotlight all of a sudden. And my journey is really no different than anyone else. I'm not the expert. I will never claim to be the expert. But if I don't know something, I'm going to say, well, let's find out together. Let's look it up. Let's read this article. But understanding that that's what our profession is all about. It's all about mentoring and growing and going to people and asking for help. And I think that there's really a vulnerability in that, asking for help. Absolutely. I mean, I've had multiple coaches. You've been one of them over the course of the last 14 years. And I say that because there was a definite stop in my life where I basically restarted. And that wasn't just in a professional sense, that was in a personal sense too. And so it's kind of like the Grand Canyon of my life. Like it stopped right there, and then there was like a valley, and then I picked up and started climbing again, if that makes sense. Because big decisions needed to be made at one point in my life, not just for me, but for my family. And where am I going to go from here? What does it look like? Who do I want to be? And now seeing like coming out of it 14 years later, and here I am, and hygienists are coming to me thinking, well, I have all the answers. It's kind of surreal.
Yeah. So what was the biggest thing that changed about your mindset at that time when you said, here's my Grand Canyon,
Well,
to reinvent myself, you know?
yeah, well, it was not anything that I would recommend anybody go through. But I had to make a big decision to leave a marriage that was unhealthy. And I'm a survivor of abuse, but understanding that my role in that situation, and that, I'm not at fault, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek, mental health, big time, right? It's okay to seek that help. It's okay to take a step back and reinvent yourself and find myself again, because I had lost myself in that situation. And I think that it's easy for some individuals in that situation just to stay the same. Even though they leave, they stay the same. But I was determined not to repeat the same steps over again, not only for myself, but because I had a child I was raising. I didn't want that, that to affect her. I wanted her to see that you can come back from something like this and you can be better. And I wanted her not to repeat my mistakes. That's the issue, right? And that's the thing that brings me to leadership, is that I was really focused on doing better for her. But then when I got pulled into Nebraska Dental Hygiene Association, into this group of hygienists that were like, oh, we see something in you and we love how you think and your bigger vision of what our profession can be. We want you in this group. And they molded me, and it wasn't always easy, right? I had somebody that really taught me a valuable lesson early on. And I laugh because we get in these leadership positions in the state level and we have good intentions, right? But then we don't always follow through like we're supposed to. And my big thing was I didn't check my email. And so this woman called me and she said, hey, look, you can't do this. I need you to do this instead. Do you need help? What can I help you with? And so that was really kind of pivotal in my leadership, to have somebody she was real honest with me. And that's hard. Sometimes that pushes people away. They think somebody's being mean to them. They're picking on me, bullying, whatever. No, she wanted the best for me, because she kept saying, you have great qualities, but we need to work on these little things. So I learned very early on to compartmentalize my email. I have multiple emails that I check now because of that conversation. And it's funny, I ran into her this summer and we reminisced about the journey. It was kind of tearful, actually, because she's like, I just can't believe, like, look, I knew you had something in you. And I'm like, oh, wow, But besides my ADHA journey, I'm in clinical practice 4 days a week. So that's not my full-time job. And I think that's a misconception about leadership, is that hygienists are doing that full-time. And I'm just like every other hygienist. I have clinic hair during the week. We talked about this earlier, that hygiene is messy, right? Sometimes you have scrub cap on. Sometimes you don't. You got your loops, you got your mask. You might not have makeup on because it just ends up on your mask anyway. And you wear scrubs every day, and you might come home, put your sweatpants on at the end of the day. To heck with real clothes. You go to a meeting and you're like, what do I pack?
Yeah, you have like 3 options.
Yeah, you're like, I can't wear my scrubs, so I guess I gotta go shopping. But
maybe we need to change that, Erin. We need to, it's
wear scrubs to our meetings.
Yeah, it's
oh my gosh.
Attire. How is that not professional attire, right?
That's professional attire, right? For us, that's
truly
absolutely.
It is.
I think that would be, that'd be kind of fun. Like, wear your scrubs to the convention.
It would be really cute. A great picture.
I know, and we would all be wearing comfortable shoes. For that's for sure. Because we would be wearing those heels. I was really intentional this summer about not wearing heels at our conference in New Orleans because I wasn't about to deal with blisters and all of that and the humidity. So I was wearing my sparkly tennis shoes the entire week, which
Yeah,
caught a lot of eyes.
I think I saw you at another meeting, you were wearing some sparkly
Yep,
there too, and I was like,
yep.
"Smart choice, smart."
Yes, I can't, I just can't do it in my life anymore. My feet aren't the way they were 20 years ago. So not walking around in those shoes. But I mean, I think as a leader, I would just like everybody to know that I'm just like everybody else, right? You said when you introduced the infamous Erin Haley-Hitz, I don't know if I'm infamous, but I want to make a mark. It's just making it better for the next generation, which is really cool to see these two students come up to me and say, "Oh, we heard you in New Orleans. We just were really inspired by what you said." And I'm like, "Oh, so I'm actually doing what I really wanted to do, just inspire the next generation to be more, do more. We have such a big capability in this profession. We just need to embrace it." I think, I don't know. I got in my own way for a long time. And that was part of the reason why I stayed in an unhealthy relationship for so
Mm,
long. Um, and now I've come to the realize that, you know, I am worthy of great things. We
mhm,
all are.
mhm.
Our profession is worthy. We just need to get out of our own way. And that's do it scared, right? Think big and just step into whatever comes at you, even though you're scared, just go for it. What's the worst going to happen, right? It won't work out. So I said that to my daughter recently. I said, when she was faced with a decision, I go, well, if you don't do it, then you've already kind of made the decision. You're not going to be successful anyway. So what's gonna stop you? What if it works? Right?
Oh, yeah, always. I think
Yeah.
too, I was thinking back to how you inspired you inspired a lot of people, but the 2 who approached you and the members who attended, I think the power of our interaction and the frequency that we put out and that who we are is so important because we got in those interactions, it's like you said, you didn't even realize that you were touching lives. And that's the part that can be so hard to measure, right?
Mhm.
Because it's in there, you planted a seed, you've changed a life, you changed thinking, but you may not see the results in that for like 5, 10 years.
Mhm.
As a,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's almost like watching your child grow up. You started out with an infant. Now I have an adult, and seeing the fruits of all of those labors, right? It's the same concept. You almost want to say, "Oh, I did that." That's feels good. But um, I think the thing that really struck me in that conversation with those two students was that they really they're like, we want to be on our own. We want to do our own thing. We want to be that provider that you're talking about. And I think that's important for our entire profession to understand. And, it's not going to affect my profession or my career because I'm at the latter end of my career. I'm not at the beginning. At 30 years, I really don't know how much longer I want to remain in the clinical space. Physically, that's hard work. But does that mean I should stand in the way of those coming out that want to be in that role? And if I'm going to advocate for changes in our profession, it's for them, it's not for me. But then it's for the greater good of everyone. It's for the patients or the individuals that we are I guess, our oath to take care of.
right.
And if we really want to take care of people and their health, I think we really need to look at what we're doing that's restricting that advancement in healthcare, because what we think is actually protecting could be hurting. Does that make sense?
Oh,
I
for
don't know.
sure. What we think we're doing, so I'll say it back to you, what I heard. What I think that we're protecting of not allowing, of like the contracting,
Yes,
contracting our ability instead of expanding our
mhm,
ability could help and touch more lives.
absolutely. And I, whatever that restrictiveness is, if it's legal or if it's behavioral, I think you can apply that to many different things. But other healthcare models have released those restrictions, and they've seen a greater impact by those professionals. And I think it's really time for oral health care to look at that and really take a step back. Like, what are we really trying to achieve? And if we're going to go down one road, what's that probability going to be of the outcomes? Could be right back where we are now.
Yeah.
Or if we go this direction, which looks like it's daunting and scary, but it could be completely different, and it could just open up a whole nother, if you will, limb of opportunity. If you think about it, a tree, right? So each tree, so we got all those limbs, and what happens if we go this direction? It could be even larger. And that's what I think about. That's the one thing that I worked really hard on, was my mindset, because I was in a very negative place, right? Coming out of an abusive relationship, and everything was bad, and everything was dark, and everything was awful. But I had to train my brain to think differently and look for the light in every situation. So when a problem comes to me, instead of saying, these are all the bad things, I'm like, oh, look, these are all the good things. If I go this way, this is what's going to happen. Now, there's probabilities in those decisions, right? I think the best book I read was Thinking in Bets.
I haven't read that.
Thinking in Probabilities. I can't remember the author, but you'll have to look it up and share it. But
Thinking in Bets?
Thinking in Bets.
Huh. No, I haven't.
It's written by a poker player. So it's thinking in probabilities. And there's even a part of the book that talks about football. So it talks about why a football coach would choose one player or another. And then if you go back and you think, well, why did the coach make that play? Like, it obviously didn't work. But the probability of something else happening and coming from that play was much greater than if he wouldn't have done the play at all. So that's what Thinking in Bets is. So it's all about probabilities. It's a completely different way of thinking. So it is more of an opportunistic mindset, if you will. So that's something that I've worked really hard on. And I think that's helped me in the clinical space too, because I really take value in what I'm hearing patients say. And it's not about me in that moment. Yes, I want everybody to floss and I want everybody to brush. But what's really the reason why they're not doing it?
Yeah.
If I ask somebody how they feel about their oral health and they tell me, and I hear something, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Where is that coming from?
What's the real
answer?
Like
I'm peeling back the onion, right? Let's get to the real nitty gritty of it. Because what it might come down to is they're afraid to tell me they really like floss picks. And I frankly don't care. If you want to use a floss pick, I usually tell patients to go for it, right? Whatever
they're going to use. It's whatever they're motivated by.
Or it's just like the famous words, oh, I heard this was bad for you, but I'm using a water flosser. Like, who said it's bad, right? Like, where did you get that message? I'm like, looks like it's working to me. Let's not change anything. Plus, telling patients that, I hear your struggle. I have other patients that struggle just like you. And these are the things they've done and they've been successful. And I know you're going to be successful too, because in that success, you're designing your goals. Like, it's all what you want. And you can be successful just like any of the patients that sit in my chair. And I think that comes from my mindset of finding opportunity in every little nuance. Even if it sounds negative, there's opportunity there. You just have to look for it.
Exactly right. It's what are you supposed to learn? Because it's this or better in my mind. It's even if it wasn't, I had a heck of a day yesterday. I had tech issues. It's been like one of those weeks where I could have chosen to be shut down, frustrated, be like, I'm done for the day. But no, it's okay. What am I supposed to learn from this? And I learned some things yesterday about myself and the way that I run things, because you see opportunity in it, because like you said, in speaking to your daughter, you can continue in that direction, but then you know exactly what you're going to get almost every time until you step up to it and say, okay, this was here for me. Instead, it didn't happen to me, it happened for me.
Right. And that's exactly how I think of my journey. Is at the time I thought it was happening to me. But now I completely say that happened for a reason. It built me in a way that I'm not sure I would have come to this part in my life if I wouldn't have had that. because I'm much more transparent, for one. I tell people sometimes what they don't want to hear. Two, I'm able to set boundaries, which really I was not able to do for a very long time. And now I'm like, nope, this is my boundary. This is where it stops. This is where it starts. I know exactly where I land on certain things and the way people treat me, right? The interactions. It's not really about beliefs, but it's more about how people treat me and what I will allow and what I won't allow, because I don't want to ever go back, like I said.
Yeah, and I think people can think of boundaries as walls, as something negative, like I'm putting a wall up and I'm going to ignore it, but it's not like that. It's setting your own. It's setting your own intention and for what you want.
Absolutely, and it goes. This is simple to describe it, but I don't let patients treat me in a certain way as a provider. I'm not less than the dentist. I'm working beside the dentist. So the words are, well, you're assistant. I'm a dental hygienist. Thank you. The technician. No, I'm a dental hygienist. Or you're just the cleaner. No, it's not. I'm not just cleaning your teeth. I'm actually trying to move you in a different way that's like in a healthier journey for you because of all of these things, right? So it's been actually, in this journey, I did come into a new practice, which has been probably the best decision of my life, working with dentists that see me as an equal, not in the sense of restorative, but as an equal as a healthcare provider. And I have what I call practice autonomy, in the fact that I pretty much run my op the way I want to run it, within the letter of the law, of course. But, if I think a tooth needs silver diamond fluoride, I'm going to do it. If I think this patient needs fluoride or varnish, then I recommend it, whatever the case may be. And the dentist backs me up on it 100%, which I don't know if I've had that in every practice.
And I think too, Erin, that's where it comes into play, where once you started valuing yourself, you attracted a situation in which you were valued.
Yep.
It works
Absolutely
like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy how the law of attraction works.
And I left a position that I'd been at for 9 years. I was comfortable there. I felt safe in that environment because I think, again, it was the right environment at the right time for me. And they supported me through all kinds of things. But it came to a point where I had outgrown it. Mm-hmm. And I needed to have a lot of more autonomy in my own space. And there was always kind of like this, I guess, tug of war. It was a power thing. And when I got the opportunity to put my foot in the door of this other practice, it was completely different.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre to have an employer say, well, you're the hygienist, you do what you do, and I'm not going to get in your way. Just like you're not going to tell me how to do a crown prep. I'm absolutely not. I don't know how to do that, and I don't want it. So, and to have a dentist actually say that as another professional, that we're going to work together hand in hand, and you're the prevention guru and I'm going to be the restorative guru, but our end goal is great care for our patient. And it can be profitable too. I mean, let's face it, it's a business, but at the end of the day, patients are happy, they're healthier, they're getting the smiles they want. And that's what we all really strive for in this profession, is letting people smile. It's life-changing for people to have a smile that they feel confident with when they go out into the world. And they're taking our work and our input and our, I guess, interventions with them wherever they go. And that's huge. I don't know that everybody thinks about dentistry that way, but I do.
Yeah, no, I do too. It's it's the way I think it's supposed to be, whole body health. But Erin, thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's amazing to see how people have evolved based on their context of how they've grown and the things that they decided that they were and were not going to do anymore in their lives, because all of that starts with us.
And I sound like a commercial, but I really think that I found my purpose and my why in the professional association.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of my healing journey, more so than probably people understand. And so I always tell people, or hygienists, anyone can support ADHA. You don't even have to be a hygienist. But I usually say, come to ADHA and find your why, just like I did. Because that's where I found my passion. My passion in health behavior, my passion in health promotion was all born out of ADHA, and all of the mentors, all of the networking, all of the education, all of it came from ADHA. And that is huge for me. I wouldn't be here without it. I certainly wouldn't be in this profession without it. So
yeah, same for me. It got me through a lot of my life where I was trying to figure a lot of things out too. So it's truly my family, and I wouldn't be where I am today without it. So samesies, we're a commercial because we've lived it. We've lived it, and it's we can speak from that.
But so I think living it is one thing, but actualizing it another, right? It's what you put into it. Mm-hmm. I could have joined and just split it in and split it out and showed up every once in a while. But instead, somebody pulled me in, and I literally dove in headfirst into the deep end of the pool. And now I'm really into the deep end of the pool. But but it's what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. That's definitely my journey in this profession.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, if you want to know more about Erin, contact her. Her information's in the show notes. Erin, thank you so much for being here with us with your busy schedule, and for sharing your journey and your evolution. And I know that I'll see you around at some upcoming conferences.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going to be next. New York.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Maybe you'll be there, and if anybody's in New York, say hi. I'm really not unapproachable, right? So I had a leader say that to me in an email. I saw you, but I was afraid to come and talk to you. No, I have just come find me, right? Yeah. It's fine. Introduce yourself, because I want everyone to know they can come to the ADHA leadership. Any of us at any time with concerns. I'm listening, even if you think I'm not, because I'm not saying anything. My ears are wide open. I'm listening. So I can't say enough about the work we're doing. It's been a fantastic ride so far. And I'm almost halfway through my term, which is a little bizarre. My spouse just reminded me of that today.
I was thinking about that earlier today. I was thinking, wow, okay, almost. But
yeah,
it's that you're doing with your service, because it's a service of passion, and I think that's why we're all here. So thank you again, Erin. Yeah. And for all of our listeners, you know what I always ask: go on over to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star rating, because Apple is the one that matters. Go over to YouTube, like the little like button right now, subscribe to the Dental Handoff, and then share it with everyone you love. Thanks for all the lives that you touch every day and the communities you serve. We will see you again. Thanks again, Erin.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
Take care.